You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump weighs all-out war as Iran negotiators spin their wheels. Finish the job, based on an article by Travis Geddes. Diplomacy at gunpoint. The real center of power. Donald Trump is not weighing options so much as holding the trigger over both diplomacy and war. The article makes the power structure plain. He is consulting Pete Hegseth and Gen. Caine, but the decision is his. The military is not an independent actor here. It is the instrument Trump uses to keep negotiations under threat while preserving the fiction that force is merely a fallback. That is the core fact obscured by the language of optionality and wording the problem. The administration is not managing a complex dispute. It is trying to extract concessions from Iran while keeping the credible threat of renewed bombing alive. The source is soft focus. The reporting usually shows the machinery of escalation, but it still gives too much room to Trump's self-serving framing. Finishing the job is not a neutral phrase. It is a sales pitch for prolonged coercion after an earlier campaign of more than 13,000 strikes failed to produce lasting compliance. The article notes that Trump has decided against immediate, all-out war for now because more strikes might disrupt negotiations. That does not make him restrained. It makes him tactical. The distinction matters. He is not choosing peace, he is choosing a slower method of pressure with a war option left on the table. Who is doing the deciding? The decisive actors are obvious. Trump, who sets the policy. Hegseth and Caine, who package military escalation into actionable options. And the envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who carry indirect talks through mediators while the president signals that failure will be met with force. Iran's demands, the Strait of Hormuz dispute, and the stalled nuclear terms are real obstacles. But the asymmetry is the point. The US demands open transit, nuclear concessions, and compliance on its timeline, while reserving the right to strike again if Iran does not yield. That is not diplomacy in a balanced sense. It is negotiation backed by bombardment, blame, drift, and denial. The article hints at a familiar misdirection. Blame is shifted toward failed talks, Iranian non-cooperation, and tactical obstacles, while the deliberate architecture of US coercion is treated as background noise. Trump publicly claims Iran as agreeing to everything, and keeps the military option alive in private. That is not confusion. It is controlled contradiction. The administration wants the benefit of two incompatible narratives at once. Publicly, it sells imminent deal-making. Privately, it prepares fresh strike plans. If talks collapse, the story will likely be told as Iranian stubbornness rather than the predictable result of conducting negotiations under the shadow of renewed air war. The pattern behind the posture. This is larger than one deadline on August 18. It is the governing pattern of imperial bargaining, escalation first, negotiation second, and responsibility nowhere. The state inflicts damage, calls it leverage, then demands credit if the target bends and excuses if it does not. The newly opened channel between the Revolutionary Guard and US Central Command may slow immediate conflict, but it does not change the structure underneath it. The structure is coercion with diplomatic branding. Trump's government is not trying to end the cycle of force. It is trying to make force look like the price of peace. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Rizat, thanks for listening.